Hey everybody, how's it going? Hey Sinistello. This morning we were working on prepping for launch and we did a couple of different things. And one of the things I wanted to do is address all of these notes I took from my own recording session earlier. Or at least make sure that they're tracked somewhere. So let's start this stuff. Does it need to make it clear you can train your adventurer since you can't really beat the dungeon before training? There's a lot of like clarity work for checkpoint 4. Where do I have this? Is it in content? I think it is. This isn't content. I clicked the wrong thing. Here it is. Make sure the game makes it clear you can do anything new, even if it's brute forced. Yeah, all this stuff needs to be done. Oh boy, clarity work, keyword tutorial for checkpoint 4. This needs to be checkpoint 4. Lock another instance. You teach about building a town hall. The game should teach you about upgrading your adventurers. Without this, you can't easily beat the dungeon. Okay, I don't find that to be a problem. Need a sound effect for putting a quest item in. We have a bunch of sound effect stuff. Let's put all the sound stuff next to each other on here. This is a major problem. Other stuff. Think about being able to build new stuff, yeah. This, and then the sound effects stuff. Okay. Still can't redeem anything or follow people on Twitch. So weird. But hopefully it gets fixed. And hey, Kevin. All right, so this is the next thing. We don't have any changes here that I want to address, so let's just revert this. So you cannot click behind the instances because the click is getting absorbed by something. I need to find out what, because this is crucial. In fact, this is more annoying than not being able to scroll the instances, although only because I have a large enough window. If I didn't, then it would probably be more annoying the other way around. So I create one instance, and now I can't scroll the camera. What is it clicking instead? Debugger, MISC, the instances manager. Let's turn that right off. Yeah, I guess it would have to be the instances manager. So in our case, it is this right here. And what is the mouse filter set to? It's set to pass. Is it consuming the click? Is that why? Instances manager. I guess it'd be an unhandled input. No, it's not. What if I just set it to ignore? If I set it to ignore, that works. But now what? I'm guessing I broke the instance scrolling thing. I broke the scroll events. Oh my God. Sometimes I swear it's like there's no setting that just gets this to work the way I want it to work. So we have to have this set to pass. We either need it to ignore. Okay, let's write this down. Where'd the feedback go? Here it is. If you set the instances manager to ignore mouse input, then you can't scroll. You can't use the scroll wheel. If you set it to pass input, then you can't click behind the instances manager. Hey Silas, how you doing? What do we do? You said it to stop. That's not gonna help. Is scrolling that important? Is it important to do through here, I guess? Because you can drag to scroll. I'd like for the scroll wheel to work. But yeah, maybe what we do is we have the instance slot listen for that. Wouldn't be that bad to do. And if that's an easy fix for this, then I think we should just do the easy fix. So I don't know how you detect the scroll wheel though. Oh, I know how we detect it because we use it in the camera. Scroll. Hello? Scroll. What? Wheel? Maybe it's called wheel. Yeah, wheel up and wheel down. And that's just an input. So yeah, I think we just do that. Just invoke an on scroll thing here. Are the graphics created by me? No, they're not. I've got a credits command that says where they were created. In short, it was an asset pack from GIF. I think who pronounces their name GIF actually. And then Quickie Joe did a lot of the work on this. If you add an input block and instance manager, can you detect the scroll there? I'm not sure. That would also potentially work because that's where I'd like to put this thing. So I guess let's paste this into here. Oh, but the mouse needs to be over this for us to care about this. And we don't have any like is mouse over stuff, right? Well, thanks. Yeah, I definitely like them, even if I can't take credit for them. I think they look good. Okay. So we want this here and this here. And we're just going to say gd.print wheel up and wheel down. And let's see if we can even get those events. Well, it should work. Yeah, it's working. Although we're getting them even though the camera should have consumed them. Why is that the case? Huh, because we never marked them as consumed. Interesting. I think that's a problem. But then we need the instances manager to go first here. Otherwise, we'll be doing two things at once. I don't know if you mark input as handled in input, but sure, let's try it. So we're going to put this here and here. And now what happens? There's definitely just going to be an ordering problem of events here, right? Because now either the camera will definitely get it, but then it should stop the instances manager from getting in. And if the instances manager gets it, then I guess we need to try this here too. All right, so then this is the true test. Only one of these should be allowed to work. Okay, well, that worked. And it's actually the one that we want it to be. So now in here, we just need a condition to see if the mouse is over this. And to see if the mouse is over this, we need the instances manager to have something that's going to detect whether the mouse is over it. Does ignore still let mouse enter and mouse exit to work? There's no way to read this through the tooltip because you have to scroll. So we got to do it this way. Mouse filter, ignore. Will also not receive entered and exit. Will not block other controls from receiving this. So we need it to be pass. Huh. Or we set it to ignore and have the party slots do this. Don't events get passed from children to parent? I'm not sure. I think, wait a sec, what did I do here? Yeah, I think what we need to do is set this to ignore and have the children listen for the mouse wheel. It's just a little weird that we have to do that. Because that would technically mean any children will need to listen to it. Otherwise, we're not getting a mouse entered and mouse exited. We won't know that the mouse is over this. Oh, we could detect it. But even that seems kind of silly. Man, it's such a weird thing. Oh, you know what? We actually don't need to detect anything. Because if the mouse is not over this, then it's over the town. And it'll just scroll the town by default. You said to pass and mark is handled only for that, right? I might be misunderstanding something, but the way that things are working right now is that the instances manager is correctly able to get first dibs on this event. So we could have this scroll here. The problem is that we can't tell that the mouse is over this without a mouse entered event, and we don't get a mouse entered event unless we change the. Oh, maybe that's what you're saying. Have mouse enter, add the listener for this basically. But then aren't we gonna break the clicking behind this? Yeah, we will. I think we just need to stop mouse input and have the children handle this. Yeah. Event is action press. Is there a way to get a scroll wheel event though through input? Godot scroll wheel event. Because there's mouse input and everything. Is this considered just a button, like wheel up? Oh yeah. Okay. Then that's easy. So unhandled input, we get a mouse event. This is mouse button. So I guess let's do this. If that, then set this thing. Else if it's the wheel up, then do set this as handled and call some like testeroni dot invoke. Now, how do we get how much we want to increase this by? I guess it's just some static amount. So let's just pass in 1. And if it is the mouse wheel down, then let's invoke it with -1. Okay. Trying to get out what breaks if you set the filter to pass. So you can get the mouse events you want. Oh, if you set it to pass, then you can't click through the instances manager. Because pass is what we had it set to begin with. Well, I guess it's not obvious here. But I can show that in just a sec. Let me restart that. Do you think there will be a v0.5? Will the final alpha be similar content-wise to the final game? I'm not sure. The goal of the alphas was get feedback, make sure we're making the right thing. Well, it's really make sure we're making the right thing by getting feedback pretty often. Beta typically I think would mean like content complete, maybe still lacking some polish. Maybe you still want some feedback. So after 0.4, we have 3 options: 0.5, beta, or launch. And I'm not sure what we're going to do. And I don't think we can really decide until we've gotten all the feedback. But to be honest, I don't know what would give us enough confidence to just work toward completion of the game without testing it again at some point. So I think we're going to need a version 0.5, but I'm not positive. Because I think we're going to add in another few buildings, and those buildings need to be tested, and we need to see if it's fun, and we need to see what pain points people have. I want to be confident that when we launch, we're launching a fun game. Okay, so we need this thing to exist on mouse drag. Let's just go copy this. And then in the instances manager, listen for that. Testeroni. Scroll horizontal. Let's just do 10 times delta. That might not even be the right direction, but let's at least see if this works. This means now you can only be hovering over the instance slot itself, which might break it when you're in between slots. I'm not actually sure. Okay, well, the scroll amount needs to be increased. But it looks like it's working no matter where you're hovering over this. Yeah, okay. So what was I was doing this before. Isn't there like a scroll increment or something? Can't we just get that? There's got to be some concept of that. I have no idea what controls this. Huh. What is it used by default for the scroll amount? Scroll container, Godot. scroll step. Custom step is set to -1 or 1. No, I don't want that. I want to find out when you use the scroll wheel. How much does that scroll by? Huh. Hey, Twitchy Joe. Trying to decide between corn 3642 or similar layout, but number row as well. You think I'll miss the extra keys if I go with 36? It's really hard to say. Depends on how committed you're going to be to learning the layout. I will say this. I feel like 36 keys is enough. But maybe you want dedicated modifiers. Maybe you want dedicated numbers. And there's no risk really if you go to 42 keys and just pop off 6 keys, for example, you'll end up with a 36 key keyboard that's just a little tiny bit wider on your desk than you want it to be. And that's not such a big trade-off. Whereas if you bought something like a Moonlander and then you popped off, 30 of these keys, this takes up a lot of space on your desk. So when you pop these keys off, I mean that hard housing on the outside is still there. And to get down to a corn, you need to pop off all but this set of 15 here. So now you've got something taking up an extra 2 columns and 2 rows for no reason. Yeah, with a corn, you just pop off a little bit extra, or with something like a SOFL keyboard, you would potentially have the number row. I mean, it depends on how you would want to use it. Now, the other thing to consider is that even if you love the keyboard, it's probably not going to be the last keyboard you get. So depending on how much you're willing to spend, like if you enjoy spending on money for keyboards as a hobby, then yeah, having 2 of these or something wouldn't be too bad. Is there concern of releasing a pre-public version that's similar to Final Game, or do you have plans on adding a bunch more content, meat on the skeleton bones, if you will, than there's currently? I only ask because you're getting close to a full playable and fun game. I think there'd be some risk of that, yeah. I think, let's say, just for laughs here, let's say we have 7 phases of the game. So there's, pre-boss 1, and then 2 and 3, and so on, and there are 7 bosses in the game. If we release everything up to like, I don't know, we release like 6 phases as free content, that's probably way too close to the final game. But what I'm thinking is we're only ever going to test with like 2 to 3 phases, or maybe do a closed beta, or maybe it's only like Twitch subs can access it. The other thing to consider is that I do plan on taking the free stuff offline at some point. So it's like right now, yes, it's freely available. And if it represented the full game, I guess you'd be able to play the full game for free. But then I'll take it offline, and unless someone else kind of illegally hosts it themselves, then it's like, oh well, you missed your chance, that sort of thing. Am I happy with 36? Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, ZSA Voyager does look nice, and if I hadn't already made the corn, and whoops, I typed that very poorly, but whatever, I got what I wanted. If I hadn't already made the corn, I probably would have gotten this. The only thing I'd want, if I were to ever switch from the corn, what would get me to switch is a wireless keyboard. And they exist. And in fact, the Cornish Zen, although I don't know if it's getting any more group buys, this is probably the best looking keyboard that I would consider switching to. I love colored aluminum. It's so good. And the colors they have are really nice colors too. Blue, purple, orange. Like, yeah, I really like them. I thought they had a red one. I guess not. I don't care about the screens though, but yeah, this is pretty nice. Why not the Cali 42? I'm not actively looking to switch, but yeah, probably anything in this general group of keyboards. Just want to bring that to your attention. Yeah, and that's definitely fair. And if I feel like it's getting too close and it's slipped my radar, feel free to bring it up again. All right, the thing I'm trying to figure out here is when you just scroll once, how does it know how much to move this by? Do we have any other scrollable thing on the screen? Yeah, this. So I scroll a tiny, oh, I think it's based on the operating system. Oh, also that's clearly a problem. How is that happening? How is the, oh, because we need to know that your mouse is over this thing. I see. Okay, well, that's easy enough to do. Although I don't know how much the instance slots cover. They don't cover the space between them, so then you wouldn't be able to scroll in between, huh? Why is this so problematic? Yeah, I don't know. Could we get this to not listen to events? I took a bunch of notes on this stuff. Clickable. Make sure input pickable is set. Sure each object layer set. What about for UI nodes? We should probably put these into code tags. The right way is add an area 2D and a collision shape. This is not for UI stuff though. Did file a bug? Oh my god, so ridiculous. Clicks happening from colliders. It's not a collider. Use a different event entirely. Okay, so yeah, I have some problems here. Can't use the scroll wheel in the instances manager itself. You can sort of achieve this effect by putting a scroll handler on the instance slot. But then you need to detect that the mouse is in the area where the instances manager is. Just not worth it. You wouldn't be covering the gaps. I still don't get why this is just stopping input though. It's at the pass. Man, there's gotta be a way to do this. Let's delete this code for right now. That can stay there because nothing's calling it. This can stay there. That can stay there. Yeah, this needs to be reverted though. I don't get what you're supposed to do to stop the input from being stuck here. Let me take a look at one other thing here. Pass? No, control node. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I wrote this. That's a problem. I don't have any other Godot notes, do I? I guess GD script. But this hopefully doesn't contain it because this doesn't make sense if it does. No, yeah, it doesn't. Wow. Well, it's probably all in the clickable stuff that I did. Input event handling. I'm not sure. Just you can't drag by this because there's the instances manager there. Like I said though, there has to be a way to work around this. Why would this consume events? Let's read the documentation for pass again. Maybe that'll shed some light on this. The controller will receive mouse movement input events and mouse button input events if clicked on through GUI input. Are we using GUI input? No. We're not using any input here, right? Unhandled input. That's it though. Yeah, that's it. And the control will receive mouse entered and mouse exited. If a control doesn't handle it, the parent control will be considered, and so on until there is no more parent control to potentially handle it. Oh, maybe one of these is broken? What is it set to? This is ignore. This is pass. This is ignore. Maybe this just needs to be set to pass. No, wait, what am I talking about? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know what I'm doing, in case it's not obvious. This would send it up to a parent event or a parent node. So where's instances manager held? I think in here. Yeah. So the parent would get it, which is town scene, but then there's a whole bunch of weird stuff going on with that. And it's just left click that I'm looking at. So maybe it's actually a problem with this. Yeah, out of curiosity, what if I change this so that it was also left click? This is almost certainly going to break something. Yeah, in fact, let's just put this as a 2 here. Yeah, this is almost certainly going to break something. Because there's got to be a reason why I wanted left click to propagate and not right click. Well, it doesn't even work anyway. In fact, now you can't move this at all. Oh, because I guess we're stopping left click and the camera is inside the sub viewport. Is that why? Yep, that's why. Okay, but the camera's not getting that event. We have something here about left click, right? Oh, it's an unhandled input. Is that why? So it's getting marked as handled by something? What if we just put this in an input? It's probably not a good idea. Yeah, all right, I can print it out here. Print event as text. And maybe just a camera event. Yeah, what a mess. And I don't know how you're supposed to accomplish this. So if I drag here, you see a bunch of camera events and you stop seeing them when I'm at the bottom of the screen. Top of the screen works, bottom of the screen doesn't. So this stuff's all fine. And the reason why it doesn't work at the bottom of the screen is that the instances manager is taking up that space. But then if nothing's handling the event, it should just pass it on. How about we put a script on the immediate parent of this, which is what? The town scene. Okay, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Does this have an input handler? It does. Yeah, so what if we just put a left click event here? All right, gd.print. The town got a left click event. I'm guessing that'll never get hit. If it is getting hit, it means it's not propagating it down to the camera. It's not even getting hit here. Oh, wait, there it is. Okay, interesting. So it's not making it to the camera. Why not? Oh my God. This has got to be one of the most confusing things. This is saying if there's a right click, then don't send it to the camera. But anything else we propagate, which means that children inside the sub viewport container should be able to get this. Is the camera getting it and it just doesn't know how to do something here? I don't even know what. Let's put this here. The camera got a left click event. I don't think this is possible because if this were happening, this is what would get hit. Is dragging would be set to true. Maybe it's not getting mouse motion though. I guess this will tell us a tiny bit. Move the mic closer to my face. Camera gets it there. The camera does not get it here. Yeah, it's just the town getting it. Interesting. And what happens when the instances are open? It's still the town getting in. The instance slot should be marking that as handled. I mean, this is a minor bug, but it is technically a bug. But it's not the one we're trying to fix. Yeah. This should be right here. And now I won't see it when we click an instance slot, but everything should still work the exact same way it used to work, which is broken. But like I said, there's a tiny fix here. Yeah, nice. Okay, so now the thing to figure out is when these things aren't open. So just lose all the battles and close them. That one's just stuck. Or maybe instance slots are set to... No, that doesn't make any sense. Town got a left click event. We click create instance. Now the town doesn't get anything. Something is very wrong. What does that mean? It means that the instance slot, something is taking up the wrong size. This is taking up the entirety of the parent. And instances manager itself is taking up the entirety of the screen. And it's the panel container that is growing. So if I change this instead of style box empty to be just something like bright pink, for example, you would never see this. At least I'm pretty sure you'd never see this. Create instance. Okay, you can see a tiny bit of it, but it's pretty much what I said. Like, it's always going to show up behind this. What that means is that the panel container is only sized to fit the content that we are seeing. But there's something here, the center container, I guess, which is sized such that it always takes up the full screen. But it's ignoring mouse clicks altogether. So yeah, it's instances manager that's consuming this. I don't get this. Hey, crows. Yeah, I didn't think this would be that hard to figure out. Well, what else can we do? Suppose we can't come to a good solution here. And what's happening even in the best case scenario? The instances manager passes it up to town. I still don't know why it's not passing everything up. We don't have any input code here other than this. That's letting me press home and end, which we could just delete this. How you doing, crows? Like this just can't come into play. Town got a left click event, and then they just go away. Well, what's the difference between having one of these open and not having one open? Is the instance slot still doing something? Maybe it is. Yes, it is. It's right there. Of course. Of course. Okay, so then what we need to do is we need to stop this by knowing that the mouse is over this. And we don't have that, do we? But I can just add that really fast. Actually doing pretty well today. I'm also doing well. I've been making progress. I've been working a little bit more than I probably should be working. And this week is going to be more of that, but then it should stop after this week. And I'm hoping to just catch up on everything. I'm enjoying it. I'm not like burning myself out, I feel. Okay. So we need to know the mouse is over this thing. Otherwise, we're going to break everything. In fact, maybe that's why this is happening right now. Let's find out. Private bool is mouse over. In ready, we're going to add mouse entered and mouse exited. And in input, we're going to add this. There. Please tell me this works. Well, thank you, Cross. I am very, very excited. All right, so now the town is getting left click events, and when we open up this thing, it's still getting left click events. Okay. Oh, crows. 5 gifted subs. Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Well, thank you for each sub. Very kind of you, especially that you've given 118 subs. And I haven't even launched the next version yet. Yeah, welcome everyone. New subs. Who I'm not sure. Twitch has some way of deciding who's the best candidate for a sub. I don't know if these people are even in chat. Stable character. No, the first 2 people aren't. I'll try one more person. No, yeah. None of the first 3 people are there. But that must mean that they watch enough that they would benefit from this. And I do think it's a good gift to not have ads for a month. I definitely like that when I'm watching Twitch streams. Yeah, so here's what we need. We need this left click event to make it to the camera, and I'm not sure why that's not happening, but we should be able to figure that out. The town got a left click event. So we're getting to here. We're not marking it as handled. We're only marking right clicks as handled. And there's no other input event, right? No, it's just this. So then something needs to purposely propagate this downward. Yeah, that has to be it. Because otherwise, how else would it know to go into this container? In fact, this should just add as a proxy or act as a proxy to the camera. Oh, it's weird that things have to happen this way at all. But could we just call unhandled input with the input? I'm going to just try it. We're going to find out. Camera.unhandled input event. All right. This feels kind of bad since there's probably someone who'd actually appreciate it. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that whole they pick someone who would probably like it. I guess I feel like they don't give it to bots though randomly. They have at least some logic to figure that out. All right. So we're still not getting this to work, but now the camera is getting left click event, but it's only getting the left click event. It's not getting any other events. So I feel like we just need to forward all of this stuff to the camera. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. Is there a way to check and see if an event is handled? Whoops. I knew it as soon as I pressed that key. I'm like, I just opened Apple Music, didn't I? Is there a way? Event dot is handled. Is there a thing here at all for this? I don't think so. Do I have something about it here? You have to mark input handled. How do we check to see if it was marked handled? See the new Mac Mini? Yeah, it looks pretty good. How do you know? I guess the only thing that could have handled it is this function here. Otherwise, it would have never made it here in the first place. Still, I would have expected input event to have something about this. It doesn't. Well, what inherits from it? All these other ones do. Oh, viewport has a thing. I wonder if viewport also has something for whether the current input is handled or not. Handle. Is input handle? Oh my God, it is. Okay, that's it. That's what we got to do. So if it's not handled already, then pass it off to the camera. I wonder if this is how other games do this, because I'm pretty sure everything's about to work perfectly. Feels good so far. Does this work? Yes. Does that work? Good. Can we do this? Well, there's bright pink behind it. Ignore that part. Okay, now we're getting some kind of weird. Oh, the mouse up isn't going to this because that's marked as handled. So now we're just stuck dragging the camera. Mouse up is getting handled somewhere else. Hey, Satika. I don't know what to do. Yeah. I don't know what to do. It's in slot. This is handling even mouse up. We would need to tell if is dragging was already set. Otherwise, we don't mark this as handled. And that's going to be a problem. I guess bool mark handled equals. Oh, wait, we want to see if it's pressed or not already. If mouse event dot press, this is stupid. I shouldn't have to do this, but I'm going to try it anyway. And you're not dragging. Then set dragging, the market is handled, or I guess it's just that these things aren't equal. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. This might allow this to work. And if so, maybe I need to reconsider the thing I said about this is stupid, because it might actually work. And then maybe everything's just fine. I mean, so far, so good. Whoops, I bumped that right off the screen. All right, so we can drag from here. Good. Give me a sec. I'm trying to do something. Yeah. Yeah, you could let the mouse up anywhere. And now it still thinks the mouse is held down. I do not have any of the buttons held down, but I'm still able to drag this thing. And I can't actually let go, in fact. Because these things got out of sync, I guess. Well, no matter what, we're going to do this. Yeah. Maybe that'll help. Was I dragging or rushing? I just can't. Okay, that seems to have worked. Can I test this with those pink bars now? I got to get right in the middle of one of them. There. Yeah, now it's stuck. But then I click and I get stuck in a different way. Oh, man. I don't have a great idea for this. Yeah, I don't have a great idea for this. I thought I may have been onto something when I had the town doing this. But then you could get in states where the mouse was stuck dragging something. Watched a couple times around the holiday break or lull time. I don't think I've seen Whiplash. How much slack do you give yourself before you actually start working? I give like 1 to 2 hours. On stream, I give myself like a couple of minutes, but that's, I guess, a little bit different because I have an audience for that. Outside of the stream, it's kind of hard to say because sometimes I won't even go to my computer, but if I'm at my computer, I'll typically start working at least. Check if they're both scrolling and force a mouse up. I could do something like that, but the problem is that this gets hackier and hackier. Like, let's say we had 3 things that could be dragged. Then we need to check to see if any 2 are being dragged, or what if we had 4 things? We need to check any 2 of the 4, I guess, and then reset them. It's like there's got to be a solution that does not increase the complexity as we potentially add new things down the line. And I can't figure out what that solution is. I guess input is only propagating upward. Yeah. GUI event. Shouldn't it be GUI event? GUI event will be emitted. It's re-implementable by script by inheriting from it. Control, it'll call accept event. The event will not spread anymore. Oh wait, yeah. No, you said any time of day. Because I was gonna say I think breaks are important, but I also think consistency is pretty good. So starting at the same general time every day. Like I try to start around maybe 8:30-ish. And I know I say that I start at 9, but I like being early to things. So I like starting around 8:30. I start feeling a little antsy if it's 8:45 and I haven't started yet. I find that that really helps me at least get going. And then I can kind of judge how well a day is going by just kind of what time it is or how I'm feeling. Like if I start feeling like my brain isn't working, it's probably late in the day and I probably should just be stopping anyway. All right, well, let's describe what's happening. So the problem is this. Instances manager is getting the event and, well, I guess like you left click the blank space behind the instances. Instances manager is getting the event, seeing that there's no handler and passing it to the parent. The parent is the town. Yeah, the parent is town.cs. The camera isn't in the hierarchy between the instances manager and the town. If it were, then the camera would get this input and it'd be able to use it. What's strange to me is why is the camera not getting it? I guess because it knows that you've clicked this thing in the UI. Yeah. Ooh, okay. I think I'm starting to get it. I think. I'm not positive, but this thing on the bottom is a scroll container with no actual visibility itself. It just shouldn't span the screen. That's all. Yeah. I think that's the solution. I think it shouldn't span the screen. The blank space is what's consuming events. There just shouldn't be blank space. But now how do we do that? I don't know. We could use a script and do the sizing through the script, I guess. But yeah, this is set to span the entire screen. It just shouldn't do that. Well, duh, Adam. How do we make it not do that? I guess we just don't set this to bottom wide. We set it to bottom center. That does not work. Wow, that's like super doesn't work. Oh, I thoroughly broke this. Okay, let's just reload that. Yeah. Hey, Fury. Yeah, I think setting it to bottom center would work, but we need it to be at this position. And it's currently, why is it to 224? I don't know. I guess it's positioning at the bottom. I guess just setting this to top wide would probably be fine. Bottom wide's not even doing anything yet. Oh, it's not bottom wide. I want bottom center. And can't we just change that ourselves? Yeah, it changed the position. What if I didn't have it change the position? Why can I reset this? What was this originally? It had a, ugh, whatever. I'm gonna try this. Let's just see what happens. Can I give this a background? Panel, yes. Style box flat. Let's make this be bright cyan or like close enough to cyan. Yeah, blue, whatever. All right, now try running that. Okay, so they're off screen. That part was probably pretty obvious because the position moved. So let's just set that to 0. Wrong 0. Let's set that to 0. Now can we see it? Still no. Okay, well, let's quit and reopen. Yeah, I do need to set the max size. Where is this thing getting created? What is going on? Oh, maybe because it doesn't have a... It definitely has children in here. Maybe I need to set this to expand. That doesn't make any sense. Is it creating instances? It must be. Okay, let's set a minimum size of like 50 because maybe we'll see it. No, we still don't see it. I don't know what's going on. Does it have grow enabled? Where is that? I don't even know where that is. Unless you meant this expand thing. Because even if I try that, I don't think... Now the only reason part of this is showing is because I have the minimum size set. It's part of the anchoring. Oh, wait a sec. What if... Okay. I think I know how we do this. I think we do this same layout that we had, but we have one parent above this, and that parent doesn't listen for mouse input. And then the scroll container is inside another center container. Okay, I don't know an elegant way to do this, but we're gonna do this in a very inelegant way. We're gonna add another, what is this thing? A scroll container. So we need a center container that takes up the whole screen. Center container, make scene root, make this take up the whole thing. There, or not the whole thing, I guess, the bottom wide. Yeah. the pain of it all. Container sizing. I don't even think we need a set to expand. I think we just now need the coordinates set correctly, which we can do here. And then the instances container is set to take up whatever space it needs. I'm gonna try this. This is almost certainly gonna break. Like won't even let me create a, yeah, it's broken. Because we probably have the wrong paths to things now. Native call this, unable to cast a center container to an instances manager, yeah. Set the manager to full rect, I guess. This one, I think we need to set it like how we were setting the previous sizing. I need to detach this and put this on here. Then we need to write a note about this because this is going to baffle me in the future. So this is going to be called instances manager. This is going to be called the scroll container. The scroll container, why do we need a center container on top of that? Oh man, why do we? Because this used to take up the full screen. I don't think this one's needed now, but I don't know for sure. So I guess let's just ignore that. And then we need to change instances manager because the script is going to be wrong. This is now a center container and it has a scroll container under it, and anything that we did inside of ready is going to be broken. Not entirely. We just need to access this unique name here and then get the scroll container. Do we even need that though? Oh God, there's like a million ways you could do this, I think. Scroll container. I'm not sure how to do it. Well, yeah, I'm not sure how to do it either, but I think this should work. I think that realization I had was important. Now, anywhere that we have scroll horizontal needs to be done on the scroll container. And then that's it, right? In fact, we could get rid of the testeroni stuff. So I think the script is fine, and now I don't know if this is going to show on screen or if it's going to show correctly. Both big questions. Oh, gotta press Q. No, it's not showing on screen. Although, why is that? Because this needs to be set to take up. I don't even know what. Shouldn't it just take up whatever size the children have? No, it wouldn't know how to do that though. Oh. Nice cursor, thank you. Yeah, I just like having a giant cursor on the screen. Yeah, scroll container doesn't get a size. Scroll container does not assign itself, yeah. But we want the scroll container to only be as big as it needs to be and not just take up the entire screen space. I wonder how you would do that. Well, let's just look this up. Scroll container take up. It's not take as much space as possible. It's like size it to the children. Size a scroll container to its children. Can it resize itself to its children? Scroll container where I only want the scroll bar to appear at a maximum size. For anyone who's having trouble with this, is this the same person who posted this? Yeah. I have a less hacky way to set a maximum size on the scroll container before the scroll bar appears. Only implemented for the y-axis, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So every time it's resized, you call fit content. Figure out the size and then set it to a minimum of the size of that and the other thing, yeah. Okay, I guess that's probably what we do. It's been 80 days and I'm just now realizing you're back on here. Hey, Aki. Long time no see. Yeah, I've been back since December 4th. I've only done 80 stream days in that time because I'm not doing the same schedule I used to do. It's mostly Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But yeah, been working on a game called Skeleseller. It's coming along pretty well. It's a town management game, and you send adventurers to do battle, and they earn items for you. And I can't show you the battles because we're breaking those right now, but other than that, everything's working. And we're going to launch another alpha on Friday of this week. So if you're curious to try it, you always can then, and it'll be free to play then. But eventually it's going to cost money to buy the game. But yeah, what's been up with you? How the last pretty much 4 years been? I think I caught snippets here and there from EJ, but then not in a while. Blue bottle not centered on the stand, unplayable. Yeah, that graphic is pretty thin. That's why it doesn't look centered. So it sounds like we have to set this through a script. And I wonder how hard that would be to do. That buyers and adventurers pull from Twitch chat. I think it'd be kind of cool to have that. Yeah, for names. But the customers are supposed to be sort of static, as in, like, let's say you see, unknown VS walk into your town. When they walk out of your town, they don't disappear. They're still a customer in your town. They just aren't visible at the time. So I think if you wanted to connect Twitch chat, you need to have it so that you read active chatters and then you do delete the customer when they get out of town. Track our inventory. There's some way that you could connect Twitch chat, but I don't know what I would do for that. I think if you gave enemies names, it could be kind of cool, but maybe not. I'm not sure. All right, yeah, I don't know how to accomplish this thing, but I think that once we accomplish it, we're probably going to fix the problem. So write notes on this problem and how I fixed it. I had thought of redirecting input, but I think that indicates a problem with the wrong node getting input in the first place. In my case, I had a scroll container taking up the entirety of the bottom of the screen, even if it didn't have contents to support that. So there was invisible space where clicking it would go through GUI input. Married, 2 children, moved to product management, might go back to engineering, passively working on a baseball simulation game. Wow, you still freestyling though? You didn't share the most important part. Anyway, congratulations on the married and 2 children bit. That is quite a life change. One of my friends who was in one of your streams still occasionally quotes one of the freestyles you had done. And I think he's tried to find that video over and over, and it was just lost to the ages. Hey, Campbell Soup. With the number of rare customers is the amount of subs in chat. Would really throw off the balance. Okay, so the new problem is how do we get the scroll container to be the minimum of the screen width and the children's width combined with plus padding. Also, do we even have to do that? What if we put all of the children inside of one container? Wouldn't that be easy then? We just size the scroll container to the size of the one container that we have. This doesn't need to be a center container. This could just be this thing, whatever this is, right? This is a box container. Why did we use a box container? Why didn't we use an H-box container? I don't know. But I think I'm kind of getting what we need to do. And what is this panel here for? I set this myself, but what did this used to be? Before it was bright pink so that I could debug this. What is even in here? It was an empty one. So there was no reason for this to be a panel at all. So I think we can get rid of both of those things and just do this. Unless the panel container actually had a reason to exist, which it possibly did. And I'm just being dumb. Panel container, what did you do? You did nothing? Seriously? We got this for no reason? Okay, so we just hide these things. And now we have, wait, what's the problem with this now? What? Tell me what the problem is. Intended to work with a single child control. Oh, yeah, yeah. I was saying let's hide them, but yeah, let's delete them. Freestyle Fridays to two toddlers, basically the same thing. I was trying to figure out, yeah. Also, I'm sure your toddlers love it. That's the kind of thing that they're just going to be like, oh, yeah, parents just have this ability, but parents do not just have that ability. It's Eki who has that ability. And eating kiwis with the skin on. Which I still think about occasionally, too. So you've impacted a lot of people. By the way, for those who don't know, because this all just sounds like one massive inside joke, yeah, Eki used to stream, and Eki streamed himself doing freestyling every once in a while. It was a lot of fun. But then also, Eki just randomly talked about eating a kiwi with the skin on, and I'm like, is this a joke? He said, no. And then he went and bought kiwis and ate them on stream with the skin on. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll try it. And I tried it, and it's not all that pleasant. The kiwis are nice. Gonna be a great party trick. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'd never heard of that before then, and I've never heard of someone doing that in real life since then. It's just Eki. And maybe Eki's the only person in the world who eats kiwis with the skin on. All right, so now we don't need this other stuff. We got rid of the panel container. And we got rid of another center container inside of this thing. Golden kiwis are really good. We just got some yesterday. Fruit 101. I'm gonna figure this out. We're still not there yet, but we're getting there. Yeah, so I just got to size this based on the size of the instance container. And we know how many of these we have. Don't we know the size of an instance slot? What is this? Size is 530. Is that correct? 530 times 3 plus the padding. That's not right. No, it is because there's empty space on the sides. You eat them with the skin on as well? Oh, cool. Okay. So it's not just a made-up thing. Also, do kiwis contain the exact same nutrients? Because who cares if the skin has it if the kiwi also has it? I mean, fiber for sure. But what about folate and vitamin E? Recently started adding kiwis to our fruit baskets. Always wonder how you're supposed to eat them without any cutlery around. If you even just have a metal spoon, you can use the spoon to sort of slice it in half and just start scooping the kiwi out. But you need a metal spoon. I think a plastic one would probably break. And yeah, if you don't have any cutlery at all, I guess you'd have to eat it like Eki does. And Mikkel. Might just slice them up and eat them with the skin if I'm lazy. Do you eat bananas with the skin on? Kind of barbarian can't even peel a banana. Okay, so anytime you add an instance, we need to resize the scroll container. And there was code to do that over here. All right, TCAT, thanks for the raid. How's everything been going? What are you coding now? I know you gave up on the Survivors game. Sorry, gave up is probably harsh wording. You stopped working on the Survivors game. And then you went back to something. Oh yeah, your main game, right? The tower defense game? Am I making this up? I'm going to stop talking because I probably sound very insensitive right now. Welcome in, everybody. Oh, another side project. Gotcha. Well, for those who are new to this stream, I'm working on Skeleton Seller. I've been working on it for the last probably 7 months or so. And we have a launch this week on Friday. So if you are interested in playing this game, which I would like to demo, but I've broken something and can't really demo it all that well right now, but it's a laid-back town management game. If you're interested in trying this on Friday, it'll be free. You can download it. And the only thing I request is that if you do play it, make sure to click provide feedback in the game. Spun a wheel and you won 3-0. Did you hack the wheel? 3-0 as in somebody wasn't happy with the result and he had to spin it again? And then someone wasn't happy with the second result and he had to spin it again? Because if so, I'm offended. Squish the kiwi by massaging it in your hand for a while. Then when it gets soft, bite a hole in the top and okay. I don't... Sounds like a joke. Again, I'm pretty sure it's not. Oh, wow. You can do something like that with a pineapple. You just kind of massage it back and forth and you can just pull out the little individual like spikes of pineapple. Okay, so wait. I was just looking at this. We need to set rect min size. Is that even a thing I can do? Let's try scroll container dot rect. No, probably just min size though. Custom minimum size. That might be what this was. This is from 2019. Yeah, it's probably that. If it landed on 2, he'd stop spinning the wheel. If it landed on 1, he'd spin it again. I see. Then I'm offended. Actual programmed game. I mean, isn't that what TCAP is doing most of the time too? All right, I'm gonna set this to a new vector just to test this really quickly. It's got to be 224 height. That's the height of the instances itself, which I don't think we have that number anywhere, do we? Nope. It's just inside all the scene files. Okay, well, we could change it if we want to. And then I'm gonna set this to whatever, 500. It should not be big enough to fill one instance, I think. Take care, Unknown. I hope you have a good evening. Sleep well. How can you be okay with the coding conventions of Godot? Dot ready. Why is that a problem? That does not seem like a big problem. Create instance. Okay, nice. This is working. Although it's larger. It got larger than whatever that size is that I set. 224. Oh, I think I know why. I don't think we ever updated the minimum sizes. But it doesn't seem like... I guess because this isn't scrolled, it doesn't matter. I still don't totally understand that part of it. But the rest of it, I think we can just set through code. Far away from what the standard coding convention is. Yeah, but it's just for the couple of functions you override from Godot itself, right? Like ready and process. And of those, maybe you have like 1 to 2 per file. And then you never look at it again. And you never call these functions yourself. It's Godot calling them. So they could have called it something like this, for example, and I'd also be like, yeah, well, that's fine. You know, like what does it matter? They could have put 10 emojis in the name and I probably still wouldn't care too much, as long as you can read it. Because it's not enforcing any other part of a convention on your code. It's not like all of a sudden you need to use curly braces everywhere. You need to whatever, put semicolons where you wouldn't have put semicolons. It's just a single underscore on a function you never call. All right, so this is going to be based on how many instances you have and also the size of the screen. And I wonder if there's a way to do that. So there's got to be create instance slot, and then there's also got to be one that closed. Do we know when one closed? On close instance slot, here it is. Close instance slot async, that's what's called here. Cool. Yeah, so we're going to say resize scroll container. Private void resize scroll container. I don't know what the size has to be just yet. We're going to get to that. And then whenever you make a new slot, we need to do this too. Yeah. Thumbs up and a lightning bolt. By the way, I know I'm kind of teasing, but like winter coating, is there actually a problem with that? Like, do you have some other issue? Because it seems mostly cosmetic to me. And yeah, when you create an instance, we need to know that you've made a new slot for this though. Create instance slot, here it is. And we add it here. And whenever we add this, we need to resize it. Okay. I've told shift and hyphen to make an underscore, and it just looks awful. I see. I have like 6 different ways of typing an underscore on this keyboard. Although one of them is it's shift and H and comma at the same time. So H and comma is a hyphen and shift H hyphen is an underscore. But then I've got another underscore character there, and I think one over there. No, that one doesn't work. No, there it is. Got one there. Either way, it's at least 2 keys. So I could get that. Yeah, actually, that's true. I do just type GD ready. I have a snippet for it. So I just do this GD ready and press enter, and it makes it for me. And then I don't need to press shift at all. So maybe that could help you. Now you'll love C#. No, but seriously, actually, that's a pretty good solution. Like if I ever want the YouTube speed up command, I can just do this in my browser and it'll speed up a YouTube video. Like you could always just make shortcuts for this stuff if you want. Yeah, the snippet does work. Also, the snippet can make it easier for other things that you do too, like rename variables. Anyway, we have resize scroll container, but I haven't actually set this, and this needs to be based on how many things are inside the slot. Here we've cleared it, and in the other one we should have added it already. How about we just print out how many children there are? Number of children in that. Yeah, and then multiply that by something times 530 plus 24. I don't know. I am just randomly typing numbers right now. Puts button at the top. Oh, nice. Yeah. Can you get the size of the box node and max out at window size of the box node? Probably. Yeah, actually, I don't see why I shouldn't be able to do that. What if I do this right now, though? Nice. Okay, cool. Can I scroll this? No, but that might be a different problem. Yeah, I don't know what's even listening for that right now. Yeah, we at least got the size of this. What is listening? Seemingly nothing. Maybe, oh, you know what I probably did? In adding new nodes, maybe they have the wrong mouse filter. That's set to ignore. The scroll container should be set to pass. It is. And the instances manager itself is set to pass. Yeah, those should be fine. Can't scroll because it's going off screen. Oh, yeah, you're right. I need to set it to the maximum of the, yeah. Okay, got it. The other thing we should do is figure out the size of the one child of this thing that we have. So where is that child? The instances container, I guess. Instances container dot custom minimum size. Instances container min size. And then I want the screen size as well, which we get in some like Windows size change function. Update bounds, give viewport size. I think we want this too. Print viewport size. Okay. We have dash to underscore and vice versa without a hotkey. Wait, as in you have the two swapped all the time, or you type something like hyphen hyphen and it types out an underscore? Because swapping them is interesting. I have a key on my keyboard that types a colon, and when I hold shift, it types a semicolon, which is sort of like, yeah, all the time. Wow, interesting. Yeah. It makes me wonder, what do I type more frequently? I do try to type in proper English, and there are a lot of hyphenated words that I type. So I would want a hyphen for that. But with coding, I think hyphen is maybe less common. I guess it depends on the language. Would they give you the actual size? I'm not sure. And that's why I wanted to test this out and just see what does this print. So we need to do create instance. Instance container min size 0 to 24. The viewport size is 1,000. Is that correct? It doesn't sound correct. That means that there's 20 pixels used up by the border? What? Can't be right, can it? No, wait, I'm wrong about that. It's using more than half the screen size. How is that possible? Okay, I don't know, but obviously min size wasn't the correct thing. It just needs to be the size of this thing. And then let's try that out. And I want, whatever. Yeah, let's try that. Snake case for everything, 90%. Yeah. And as long as you just never subtract any numbers ever, then you don't need to type a minus sign. So, easy peasy. All right, weird. It's still saying the size is 0. Maybe it's because I'm doing this in the wrong order. Does it have a size now? Yeah, it does. So I'm probably doing this in the wrong order. Oh, wait. Oh, that's right. Size doesn't update on the frame that you want to update it on. Oh, I need to do all this on the next frame. No, okay, let's do that then. Is it the minimum window size? It was when I had to take up half the screen, although I don't understand why that's the case. Like now I click create and it says it's using 1,000 pixels. Oh my God, I know why. Because it's trying to set it to smaller than that, but I must have the minimum size set to 1,000. Oh, and that's what you said. Yes. Okay. Now that I actually read your message instead of just making whatever words I want there to be. Okay, so we need to wait for the next frame. And we have this function, I guess. God, I hate this. I really, really strongly dislike this structure of doing things. But yeah, I guess it'll work. Bounds the next process, yeah. Okay, so update, resize, scroll container on next frame. Resize scroll container. Now this is unused only because the colors of this shouldn't exist anymore. And this. Good. So now the size should be correct. Man, this is definitely tough. Did it work? Yes, good. So 530. Is 530 the size of this thing? What does it think it is? 530 is the size of this thing. So what happens if I have 2 of these? Well, I guess we don't need to measure. We can just know what it's that times 2 and no, it's not. So it's adding the 24 itself. So then all we have to do is this. This is easy. Good job, Kevin. So we set the minimum size to this, and then we say scroll container dot custom minimum size dot x equals math dot min. Can you not even set the x of this? Not a variable. Okay, well then never mind. All right, so new vector 2, this dot x, and then we math dot min that with the viewport size. And then this is going to be instances container dot size dot y. I think we did it. Someone else completes a word. There's a grace period where you can still complete it yourself. So is this like a group typing test sort of game? Is it the side project? Please tell me this works. Please tell me this works. Please tell me this works. Okay, it's not scrolling. Also, it's probably gonna, oh wait, it's not scrolling because it's only when you create, it's not when you, yeah, okay, I see what's happening. It is kind of working. But I've got to have this get called whenever you resize the window as well. Okay. Spin it up and have Adam play. There was a game that Clarkio was playing on stream where it was like an anagram game. I don't remember what it was called. But imagine if you had something like the word stop and you had to find like ops and pots and sod and whatever else. And what was kind of cool is it required some thought of what you were even trying to type. And then you also had to be the first person to type in that word. The problem with a lot of these things in Twitch chat, I think, is that you could never have it actually be a competitive game because of how easy it would be to automate. And there's no other input other than you typed the word or you didn't type the word. As opposed to, you know, collecting up keystrokes or something. And even then, you wouldn't really be able to do it. A typing tower defense is close to the main project. Mine's on a website, not Twitch chat. I see. I mean, the cheating thing still stands, but yeah, I doubt it would ever be a goal to make a hyper competitive, like competitive typing game yet. Or if it is, just ignore the super outlier results. I guess that's what the typing sites do. All right, so we got to call this whenever the window size changes too. How do we do that? Like this, I suppose. And then this is going to call the same function that we just had. Okie dokie. It's just going to say this equals resize scroll container. And then we should probably remove that too, right? Window size change. Do we ever remove it? We don't, I guess, because this is not going to outlive the parent. Or wait, isn't that the problem though? Wouldn't we need to dispose of this? I don't think it matters. Okay, so let's see. Does it work? Maybe shrinking or expanding the window causes weird things to happen. So let's try it. I'm going to shrink the window and we're going to expand it now. Now I'm going to scroll and we're going to try that. I think it's fine. It's scrolling in the wrong direction. Or wait, maybe it's not. Maybe I just don't know what I expected to do when you scroll. Okay, so it looks like it's kind of working, but I think this is doing some weird code still. I have this stuff here. I don't like this at all. Yeah, I want to delete all this. Oh man, what else do we need to do? What else do I even type into one of these functions? All that's fine, that's fine. I don't see any other problems except for this. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's see. If it works, then cool. We learned a lot in the last hour and a half. If it doesn't work, then I am immensely disappointed and I will blame TCAP for all of my problems. All right, so we can't click and drag, but I think I might have deleted that in a different way. Where's that code? Oh yeah, all of it's commented out. All right, it's not TCAP's fault. Not yet, but it will be. And if it is, then that's it. All right, so this has the is mouse over stuff. I don't want that here. And I don't want this here either. I think we just want that. This is a weird way of doing things, though. This does mean that the instance slot is going to get this no matter what. I don't think this is a smart idea. I think we do this and get the is mouse over stuff to still be correct. Yeah. Otherwise, this just shouldn't be unhandled input. This should just be GUI input or something. Yeah, and then it would work fine. In fact, I don't even know why I did it that way. All right, is it working? Okay, I can click and drag. I can't let go for some reason. Why is that not happening? That's instance slots problem. Oh, because the mouse isn't over when I let go? That's the problem. Okay, well, that's the whole reason why we're supposed to have GUI input for this. To do switch to GUI input. Is that even a thing I can override? Oh, yeah, it is. Well, why don't we just use that now then? I did not mean to press any of those keys. What am I doing? Oh, I think my finger was like one key off. Yeah, there. Now, do we have to call the base GUI event thing? What does it even do? Nothing. Oh, so then we shouldn't have to call it. I don't think. It said we need to mark this as handled somehow. I don't remember how. GUI input control.accept event. Accept event? That's what I gotta call? Accept event. Oh, okay. All right. I think we're good. Yeah. I don't know for sure. Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, wow. I think this is working perfectly. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, what if I cancel one of these? I think it worked, but I don't know about that second one. I closed this. It's still centered. Why is there a bright blue background? That shouldn't be there. Oh, why is that there? Because the size never decreases? Are you kidding me? I think we do need to use the minimum size, but that's hopefully an easy problem to fix. Yeah, where is it? This. I think it's always reporting a size of 1000 now. Yeah, it doesn't know to shrink. Maybe we could set it to shrink. It's set to expand right now. Yeah, what if we just say shrink center? Does that fix the problem? All right, TCAP is off the hook this time. Create. Okay, good. Now we cancel one of these, cancel this one. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. There is a 1 frame lag on when it finally updates. I don't think it's going to be visible when there isn't bright blue in the background. But it's definitely visible when there is bright blue in the background. All right. Well, that was a very painful process. But I think we are doing quite well. So now we set this back to a style box empty. We don't even need a style box on this, right? Just delete the panel altogether. Or maybe it gets a panel from the parent, the theme. No, I think it's fine. Can I? Oh no, I can't. I can't move the camera from here. The whole reason I did this is to be able to move the camera from there. Oh, this just needs to be set to ignore, right? Please tell me. Please tell me that's it. Please tell me I'm not an idiot. Something weird is happening here. Yeah, you can't drag from the space in between these now. But that's the only oddity for this. And yeah, this space is just like negative space. There's just nothing you can do there. What is that? I think it's the instances container. Yeah, I think that's what's happening, which means it's passing up to the scroll container. Hey, F, thank you. Shouldn't you also resize the instances manager and that would solve it? I don't think so, but maybe I'm not understanding this correctly. But here's what's happening. We have an instance slot and then this like tiny little background area. B is equal to the background area. And then another instance slot. So something like this. And dragging from the instance slot works. The reason it doesn't work from here is because it's actually calling into the instances container and not the instance slot. Which makes me wonder, should we have ever put the mouse listener on this? This probably doesn't make any sense at all. It should probably have been on instances container to begin with. Without changing the mouse filter, I mean, so the instances manager handles input. I'm not totally sure what you mean. But the instances manager is always going to cover the whole screen. So we can't have it handle input, but we can have the instances container handle input. And that's what I think we need to do. So everything that was in instance slot wouldn't be there. How is this done right now? This is GUI input on this thing. Yeah, we need it to be on the container. And then have all of that stuff. Yeah, let's try that out. Wow, this is, wow. Just, there's a lot going on. I'm glad we're doing this stuff. I don't even know where we put this. Why does it need to cover the whole screen? I mean, you're sizing the scroll. Might as well size the other one too. Because it's got to be centered. And the big one is actually a center container. And that's what's going to make sure that the instance windows are always in the middle of the screen. We could do what center container is doing and just figure out the position ourselves. But I mean, that's what a center container does. So I feel like we should just use a container for it. All right, so we attach a script to this. I started this and then didn't finish it for some reason. Source UI. If you anchor at the bottom center, want to position itself correctly when you size it. Yeah, you might be right about that. Yeah, it should. It's anchored to the bottom. So then we don't need this. So we make this the parent. And then put instances manager on this thing and delete this. And now a couple of things are going to be broken. Won't this still cause a problem though? Because I had the mouse listener on the wrong thing. No, we just wouldn't have the mouse listener on the instance slot at all. We'd put it on this, yeah. Love to start creating a game. Can't find the inspiration for an idea. Any tips? I suggest that just play games you normally play and then think, how could I improve this? Or like, do I want to remake part of this? I think that's a good way for getting some ideas. I think other than that, it's sort of like poetry. If I just said, hey, go write a poem, you'd be like, about what? Like, you need to constrain yourself. And I think in constraining yourself, you will be a little bit more creative because now you don't need as large a search space. So for example, maybe you come up with just the genre. Maybe you just say, I want to make a platformer game combined with a racing game. And that alone is enough to spark an idea for you. Maybe you come up with, I don't know, some items that need to be in your game or a theme of your game. Maybe it's got to be something in like the shadow world. And that alone is, again, enough to somehow give you an idea for something. Or maybe items you're like, okay, there's going to be a fireball and there's going to be like a barrel of oil. And these things already, even as I'm saying them, they probably get you thinking a little bit, right? Like, oh yeah, I could kind of envision a game mechanic like this. You're lighting oil on fire and maybe there's some timer mechanism and you've got to solve a puzzle in a certain amount of time. And then just kind of tinker around and see where it takes you and see what kinds of things you like to work on. I should close out of these things. Okay, so there's a scroll container. This thing is now a scroll container, which means we don't need this anymore. Although I'm only going to comment it out for now, so I don't need to redo this if I decide to change my mind again. This stuff would change. This would change. And then this would have the listener that is currently inside the slots. So if I run this, we should see the same thing we saw, but with the same bug that we saw. And then I need to fix the bug, and then we should be good. We need to write a bunch of notes after that. But yeah, I can drag the camera from the bottom area. I click create instance. Nothing happens. This needs to... What does this need to do? Huh. I don't actually know. Is there a bug? No. What? This is changing the size. No, yeah, this is changing the size of this thing. Instances container min size. It should be set to 530 by 296. I guess let's give this a background so we can see where it's showing up. We'll just make it some obnoxiously bright color. There. Well, it's definitely not on the screen. We would see bright green. What did I break? Both of these are positioned at the top of this thing. We're setting the minimum width. Maybe it's not actually altering the size of this. I guess let's just try setting custom minimum size to new vector to 500, 500. This should just create a green square on the screen. And it's definitely not doing that. Huh, indeed. Yeah, huh. This says it's anchored to be at the top left. How is that possible? I set this to bottom center, right? And then just change the Y position to be 0. Maybe that's what was going wrong. It was like up here somewhere. Oh yeah, there it is. Well, that's maybe I had that running through Godot, and maybe that's why that was there. Let's try this again. Okay, good. So now delete the 500, 500 thing. Ridiculous. All right, now we're looking good. So this would not have fixed the problem that we had, but we should have everything working the way it used to, and that's correct. But now we can't drag by the green spaces. But we're about to fix that. We're about to fix so much of this. Oh, what a ridiculous thing. We should just be able to copy paste all of this up to here. We don't already have an input function, do we? No. So I can just paste this here. Okay, we need is dragging, and on mouse drag we already had up here, which is just change the scroll horizontal. Minus equal delta. All right, just duplicate this and get rid of it. Scroll horizontal minus equal delta. We don't even need the int there, do we? Cannot implicitly convert to int. Oh, I guess you do. And why is this a problem? Unassigned local variable, only because the is dragging. All right, all right, all right, all right. Instance slot. Okay. I know you didn't ask me, but when searching for ideas, I think the best bet is to start where you're interested. What are your favorite games or genres? Do you have any hobbies, entertainment media, or anything like that you prefer? Yeah, and I think this is how a lot of businesses are started too. Someone's like, I'm frustrated with this, or I could do this better. And then that's it. They go start a business. And I think it's the same with a game. It's like, hey, that would be a cool idea. It's sort of like Pong, but you get power-ups. And it's like, oh, okay, there's your idea. Cool. It works. All right, so now we can drag by the green spots. Oh my God, we can. We can, Chad. We can. It's glorious. It's so amazing. I know what happens when we close one of these. Yeah, we can still scroll. Everything's still good. Now we close another one. We should be able to pan the camera. Oh man, it's amazing. Oh my goodness. This is where just writing out my thoughts got me to this critical conclusion here. The instances manager shouldn't span the screen. I was trying to do all sorts of weird stuff without just thinking about the most basic case. Kevin definitely deserves a point for, well, several parts of that. But unfortunately, he's got a point multiplier that is less than 1. So he gets 1 point for all of the help. Whereas if anyone else in chat had helped, it would have been like 3 points. Sorry, Kevin. It's part of being part of the team. Like sports and strategy games. So the thought exercise would be to take an existing game. Yeah. Also, I got to say, I think the uniqueness thing is, it's an interesting thing to touch upon, Camel Soup. Because uniqueness matters when it comes to a business. Like, you can't sell your own Zelda game. Or if you can't do it for very long because Nintendo's going to clamp down on you, right? But you can sell your own action adventure game set in a sort of medieval fantasy style thing where you get a sword and a bow and arrow and a shield and bombs and whatever else. That's all fine. Now, if you were to catch a Pokemon in that world, then Nintendo's going to come after you again. But up until that point, it's fine. So uniqueness is good for a business, but uniqueness is actually kind of a bad thing when it comes to learning. If you're trying to learn how to make a game, just go make Tetris. Just go make Snake. Go make Pong. Go make whatever else that already exists. Don't apply your brain power on how do I come up with a fun game. Just take a fun game that already exists and make it, because the whole point is to learn. Now, if you then tried to sell that game, you'd run into problems. And I think if you're tackling a multi-year long project, then that could be an issue. But if you're like, hey, I'm just getting started, I want to do something for fun, I have a hobby, yeah, spend like a month. If you have to undo your progress after a month because you realize, oh man, I was making a Zelda game and it turns out this is actually a lot of fun, I like doing this and I want to be able to sell it, then go get some assets that you can actually sell. I like progression, city builders, and crafters. Maybe combining a game like a Planet Crafter with a Horde-like game, like There Are Billions. Yeah. Yeah, see how it goes. And the other thing you can do too is try to distill it into the fundamental mechanics or ideas. So like maybe you could prototype this as just like rectangles on the screen, or I don't know, maybe you could get this working in another game engine or another game altogether. Like Minecraft is a game that already exists and has the multiplayer, the rendering, the blocks, the everything else. It's already there for you. So if you wanted to make a plugin and now you've got a bunch of Minecraft zombies spawning in and you've got, I don't know, a teleporter to a different planet, quote unquote, it's like that's all almost given to you for free. You have different worlds in Minecraft. You have different biomes. You could just kind of construct your own places anyway and make them seem like they're different worlds. And maybe that takes you like 2 weeks to test an idea out, not, you know, the year it might take you if you were to make all that stuff from scratch. Just don't sell it in Japan. I don't think that matters. I think there have been a lot of fan games outside of Japan for Nintendo IP, and they still shut it down. Wow, this was nuts. I got to write this down. This whole thing about clickable stuff has been crazy. Another consideration for clickability. What do we say this? For this, I guess. I'll just say at one point I ran into a situation with my game where I wanted a scroll container to contain up to 3 elements. The elements would be centered on the bottom of the screen, and if there wasn't enough room, you would scroll them by either via the scroll wheel or by clicking and dragging one of the elements. There were 2 major problems I had with this. Well, actually, I should say this. Problem I had with this was that the scroll container was set to always take up the entirety of the screen. So when there were no elements, there would just be an invisible control consuming mouse inputs. Yeah, I tried a bunch of stupid things like redirecting input events, having the wrong controls handle events, etc., before realizing 2 key things. One, the scroll container simply shouldn't be taking up the full screen if there aren't visible elements there. Yeah. Say within it. And 2 is the elements themselves shouldn't be in charge of handling scroll events, since they wouldn't know about padding in between the elements. Only the scroll container would know that. To clarify, clicking that padding between elements wouldn't allow you to scroll the container because this is, I don't know. I just want to jot some thoughts down. I don't think it's going to be super clear, but maybe we can take a clarity pass on this. Take the size of one of the instance slots and use that plus, yeah. We could do it in constant time, or not in constant time, in one frame. I guess either way, it's constant time. We could do it in one frame by knowing what the sizes are going to be ahead of time. That doesn't work for the first one. I mean, it still does. You could still get how many are there, and then base the sizing on that. Because you have X is the size and Y is the padding. And for the first one, it'd just be X. And for all of the ones, it'd be X times the number plus N minus 1 times Y. This is kind of, I guess this is the same formula for all of this. Yeah. And that's what I had originally. But the problem was the number wasn't even taken into account correctly. But you could still just keep track of that. Thinking of getting the size of one that's, oh, I see what you mean. Rather than assuming that it's always going to be the same size. But I think that's kind of another problem that I run into with some of this stuff. Like you saw with the list that I had, it was like list item 1, list item 2, and then like a large list item 3, and then list item 4. And I was like, oh, let's just get the size of this. Oh, the size of this is 1 line. So, but this one is actually 3 lines. So I couldn't just assume that they're all going to be the same size. Anyway, I'm happy with how this ended up working, and I'm fine with this. And if we wanted to polish this and further, at least we're working with a solid foundation, whereas we definitely weren't before. All right, let's see if this is clear. At one point, I ran into a situation with my game where I wanted the scroll container to contain up to 3 elements. The elements would be centered at the bottom of the screen. I'll say I wanted a scroll container to contain up to 3 elements. The elements would be centered on the bottom of the screen. If there wasn't enough room, if there wasn't enough width, if the game window wasn't wide enough, I'll say a horizontal one so that this is as clear as possible. You would scroll them. You would scroll the container either via the scroll wheel by clicking and dragging one of the elements. Problem I had with this was that the scroll container was set to always take up the entirety of the screen. So when there were no elements, there would just be an invisible control consuming mouse input. Tried a bunch of stupid things like redirecting input events, having the wrong controls handle. I'll just say this, like redirecting input events before realizing 2 key things. Scroll container simply shouldn't be taking up the full screen if there aren't visible elements within it. And the elements themselves, I'll say it as the scroll container should be in charge of the clicking and dragging. One of the problems I ran into when trying to have the elements handle it was that there was padding between the elements, meaning the elements couldn't know about and thus couldn't have an event handler for. Yeah, I think that's clear. And then there's one other thing I wanted to write about this. I think that's it. I just, sometimes I can't believe this stuff. It's like if you said, oh, hey, I have the number 2 and 2 and 2, and I have 2 some number of times, and I just have to keep adding all these things together. And then someone comes up to you and they're like, why don't you just multiply 2 times X? You're like, oh yeah, that's way smarter. That's pretty much what happened here. It's like, oh, hey, I have this control on the screen and it's consuming events, but it's invisible. And if someone had just come up and been like, why is the control taking up so much space if it's not actually using that space? Yeah, that's pretty smart. So again, for those who weren't paying attention and want to know really succinctly what the problem was, you see this bottom part of the screen, this all used to be one control, which meant if you clicked like this square right here, you wouldn't be dragging the camera because it'd be consumed by this invisible square right here. Same thing on this side. It would just be an invisible square and you'd try moving and it's like this. I'm I'm right clicking, not left clicking. It's like, why can't I move the camera? Because there's an invisible control there. Because there's no fixing that problem. Because it is programmer error. All right, so we got some notes. We got to go clean up the code. Cleaning up the code should be pretty simple, I think. This stuff needs to remain as is. We even simplified the scene tree by doing this. Look at this. We got rid of a whole bunch of lines of code. This, I don't think should have changed at all. Yeah, this is just a UID and a theme, which granted, it shouldn't hurt to have changed this, but I think this is a different problem. This is the UID cache coming into play. Why does this even get a different UID? Nothing references it. Something does reference the old one, so I don't know why that's there. All right, let's just revert that. All right, town scene. What changed in here? Oh my God, a bunch of UIDs. Okay, well, we're reverting that too. Close all these things. Camera. This is important, but not super important, and this is not needed at all. Why is the revert button not showing? There it is. Yeah, this is just to make sure that something else doesn't treat this as though it's unhandled input. And I don't think this breaks anything. Oh, wasn't there another problem that I had earlier where I had this open and I was scrolling here and it was, no, now everything's fine. It is so stupid. Although I will say this, because I wrote this in one of the bugs that I had. If Godot just added any random thing to your script, you would lose a lot of confidence very quickly. But all it's ever doing is changing UIDs. So I think it's safe to just pretty much ignore a lot of those and all the warnings that come out of them. But I got into the habit of ignoring everything that added. And I ran into a really stupid problem the other day that took me so many hours to solve. This was over the weekend. It's a Jitspo issue that I shared, which I don't even remember where that is now. Oh, wait a second. Did I ever see this before? This is not what I was talking about. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah, there was an issue I ran into and it caused a lot of problems. That's it. That's the story. All right, let's keep working through this. Just making sure there's nothing else weird going on here. Yeah, no, I think this is good. All right, so have camera mark events handled. This shouldn't really have an impact on the game, but if anything ever tries using unhandled input afterward, it may get events that the camera should have consumed. Okay, so there's that one. Next one is this stuff. That's good. This is not needed at all, nor is dragging. So instance slot is dragging. This isn't used anywhere. No. All right, on must drag and testeroni aren't needed. How nice. And those weren't even showing up anymore. Yep. Wow, would you look at that? More code that just gets deleted from this. Granted, this code just got moved, so it's not really fully deleting it. The line just went elsewhere. The hermit crab of coding. I wonder how many lines this one got as a result, because we did add a few functions. We didn't even need that. We don't need this. Switch to GUI input we already did. And now I think we can consolidate these if statements. That's probably what this is even telling us. Yeah. So nice. It's so nice. Now, what about this? Shouldn't this be in GUI input as well? Let's try it. Just put another space there. Try loading this. This is going great. If only there were more time in the day, or rather, if only I had more energy to spend more of the time that I do have being productive. But that's not how my brain works. What were we going to test? We're going to test whether you could still scroll here. Yeah, Nice. Nice indeed. Nice indeed. Okay, cool. So delete that. This should just be accept event, I think. In fact, I'm kind of surprised it didn't complain to me about that. All right, looks good. Delete that. Everything else is fine. Yeah, nice. So clean. Now there's one problem. We have a style box that shouldn't exist in the scroll. Yeah. The green background. Imagine if I left that in of all things. There. So now that should show up as being changed here. Yeah, the style box is gone. Wow. So much better. It's so much better to realize this though. I'm glad I thought about this some more. It's kind of a shame when your first instinct is wrong and your second instinct is wrong. And then you spin the wheel a third time and you find out that it's the third time's a charm. All right. Now I wonder if players will find it weird that you can't drag the camera from here. Because I don't find that weird. I think this is working how I would expect it to work. That way you don't have to pinpoint exactly where you're dragging from. You can just pick anywhere here. Third time's LSO wrong. Oh, also, I was trying to understand what you said. Hey, Raimo. Raimo, what did you think of the 270 Pokemon runs in Ski's channel? If it didn't work without that green background, I would have lost my mind. Okay, so fix scrolling instances. This is it. This is the commit to fix all of the issues. I finally realized that the real problem was that the scroll container was taking up the entire width of the screen window, which meant that even when there were no instances, that blank space was actually just an invisible control consuming events. Now you can drag from the blank space to move the camera and click dialogues in the world as you would expect. Do I create my own pixel art? No. I am very bad at art. Now that was a grind. That wasn't even a fraction of what the grind probably is. For context for everybody else, Ski Dog is doing an Ironmon challenge, which sounds nuts to me. You play Pokemon where like everything is randomized. The enemies are all higher level than you and stuff. You can only use one Pokemon. You can't use any of the best Pokemon. There's like a million rules. Apparently it took like one of the last people who did this 1900 attempts before they beat the game. And Ski has done like 300 attempts so far and has beaten Brock once. And there are 7 other gym leaders. I think it makes sense to have that gap filled. I could definitely see players thinking it's an open space to interact. Probably not a big deal. What I was concerned with, so I think what would probably be a good idea is maybe if we just we shrink the gap a little bit more so that maybe there's only like 3-4 pixels between it and then no one's going to really try clicking the 3 or 4 pixels. But I do like the idea that this is floating over town, but I think we can get that with just less padding. One of the rules is must talk to mom before leaving. Yeah, I don't like that rule. I don't mind the rule if you have to name your Pokemon, but really the way I kind of look at this is I think as a player, it's probably, fun and chill and you just sit around and you grind. But as a game designer, I just keep thinking if the point of the run is to get sort of a gifted run, then make the rest of the run conducive to that. Like, don't generate Pokemon you can't catch or flag it as not being catchable or something. allow you to swap out some moves or an ability or something like that so that, oh, well, at least I'm making decisions. It feels like a lot of it is just, well, it's dead in the water. You have literally no option. Some of the runs, you have no damaging moves in the first battle and you lose. And yeah, I feel like that's, I mean, it would be considered bad game design if it were intended to be that game, but it's another game that's been modified. I do want to try what Eki just suggested. And I think it should be easy enough, but I don't know where those, I don't know where that padding comes from. Probably here? Yeah, here. Okay, so what if we just lower this? So we'll just run the game and try it. It could almost be automated. Yeah, I bet it could be. Do you have making Pokemon shinies, but then shiny lock them? What does shiny lock mean? I know about shinies, but I don't know about what shiny locking means. Schedule Animal Royale development? That might be next week. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. We're going to shrink this. Oh, wait, do it in this window. Oh, wait, we can't see them both? Oh, come on. Okay, fine, I'll do this off screen. And I'll just say what the number is. So it's currently 23. We're going to shrink it, and you should see these things get closer together. Yeah. So what if we put it at that? Does that look good? You can still see the town beneath it. I think it'd be harder to drag between it. But with a separation of 3, these battles aren't that far apart, which is actually somewhat of a benefit. If you're on a short window, now you don't have to scroll as far to see all of these. Have you seen beating every possible game of Pokemon Platinum at the same time? I don't think so. Is that a Sucker Pinch video? I think Sucker Pinch actually changed his name, so I don't even know what the new channel name is. Tom something, probably. It means he can't be officially shiny at all. If they're shown as shiny, then they're hacked. Is this because people were trying to get every Pokemon to be shiny? I'll save this for watching later. Watch this later. We were talking about Pokemon on today. All right, so if we just save this, then that's it. That's how the game will look from now on. On a 1080p screen, so I have 1920 pixels horizontally, we have a decent amount of space on either side now with which you could drag the camera, although I don't think you ever would. To be honest, I think would be perfect is if we could somehow shrink the size, the height of these, but not cause a bunch of problems that we've caused over the last couple months. We use the vertical space to show your loot, to show the stats, to show your party, and to show the auto repeat controls. So if you do this, then, well, I guess then we have to win a battle. Wait for it. Okay, there we go. So this is all the stuff we need to show vertically. And you can see, if I cut this out, you can see it pretty much just barely fits. We could lay this out differently. And we're going to have to probably. But until we lay it out differently, we can't really cut out any vertical pixels from this window. Expand and collapse. Yeah, I think you could have something like that, maybe for items. And maybe this thing is just scrollable and maybe you don't want to see your items all the time, but I want to base some of this on player feedback and some of it on just designing a better window. Someone engineering a set of inputs that'll be every seed of the game. You know, there was a tool-assisted speedrun a while ago that beat the first 4 Mega Man X games, all with the same inputs. And what you kind of realize with any of these things is what the trick is. I mean, as a human, you probably wouldn't be able to do this, but as a computer, you can maybe pause buffer, you can exploit the lag in some games. But in Mega Man games, a lot of the time, it's like you're stuck in a boss dying animation. So then all the other games can just do whatever they want. And if you time the animations correctly, it's not so bad. But yeah, that's quite the video to watch. Let me see if I can find that and share that. Let me mute this so I don't accidentally play some copyrighted content. Is it? Oh. I don't even see it anymore. Well, I guess I'm not sharing this. Okay, well, so much for that. What is legit shiny and what isn't? I speculate to draw on money and shiny lock Pokemon. They can make events to distribute shinies. Oh, I see. At least I think I see. I think that's how the original Mew was, right? You were only supposed to unlock it via some tradable thing that happened. I don't remember. This is so many years ago. And the concept was cool. I mean, it turned into a multi-billion-dollar franchise, so it wasn't some flash in the pan kind of thing. Really interesting watch. Yeah, I want to take a look at that. That sounds interesting. Before I check this in, no, I'll just check it in. All right, yeah, thanks for the suggestion, Eki. Lower padding between instances. I just don't want people to get the impression that they can drag the camera from between instances, since they can drag the camera from the sides of instances. Plan to stream your first reaction to feedback, as in what you take away. No, I unfortunately can't do that. The long form feedback a lot of the times is like a bunch of feedback and then something like, hey, if you want to contact me, you know, adam@example.com. If I were to just filter out the feedback part, I'd have to be very careful about making sure this stuff doesn't show, because I absolutely do not want to leak people's information. And I could say something like, do not share any personal information, but actually sometimes this helps to get more feedback. Like, oh, hey, you commented that this thing wasn't fun. Would this be fun for you? And I send them an email. So yeah, I tend to do that stuff off stream. But then I tend to be very open about the feedback that we've gotten. And I think I've talked about it in the past, although I can't find a document really fast. But generally, the work that you see me doing is fueled by either feedback or something that I had as an original game design idea a while ago. Like even things like dragging items around, or the enchanter, it was kind of feedback driven. Okay, so this is all done. Hooray. And I got to get back to my feedback. Wow, that one item took me that long. But hey, that's how the cookie crumbles, right? Can I open a file? Whoops. There we go. Done. I should take a break. Yeah. I think I'll stream for another hour probably, but I should definitely take a break. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Okay, for those in Twitch chat, type join. You can type J and a number and jump. Have fun jumping. I'll be back in a few minutes. Hey again. Close the game. Congratulations, Deller. Okay, so what's next? Games tell you about being able to build new stuff. This was the tutorial thing that I mentioned. Oh, also before I forget, let's fill out the journal. What just happened? There we go. Okay, so what did we do? Mostly worked on new player stuff. Got stuck on fixing the scrolling of instances due to instances manager consuming the entirety of the screen with an invisible control. And thinking that was the right decision at first. Yeah, okay. All right, so clarity work. Game should tell you about being able to build buildings. Does it tell you that? Game should teach you about building the armor shop. This stuff is going to take, I think, all of Wednesday and Thursday. And I think it's what we have to focus on. I think tomorrow is the last like free day I have to do what I want to work on. And I think I can spend it doing maybe some sound effect stuff, music stuff. And the warehouse changes. I don't know. Something like that. Then Wednesday and Thursday, all clarity changes at first. Want things to be clear in the game. Oh, what's next? Volcano's too hard. I wrote a few different things about the game being too hard. Volcano's too hard. Jungle's too hard. I don't want to fully sidetrack myself, but that concept of a hard mode for an instance, is there an easy way to make a hard mode? So here's what I think the problem is. You unlock a new location. Well, like the game is too linear is kind of the problem. But you unlock a new location and you only have so many inputs to battles. It's which adventurers to take, which level they should be. You always want this to be max and maybe just can't afford it yet, and which skills to use. And that's it for right now until you unlock the enchanter. Issue is that it's not clear how to increase your win ratio from just those inputs. And even if it were, going from a 20% win ratio to a 60% win ratio is neither super obvious nor very fun. Well, maybe not 60%, maybe like a 40%. So yeah, what if there was a way, what if most instances were easy by default and you had a way to make them slightly harder? Is it even necessary? I guess what I'm trying to think about is with any game, you're trying to figure out what's the player's decision tree. And in this case, it could be where to fight, like what kinds of items to get, how much they're worth. Maybe that's sort of what you're managing, and just kind of any party will let you fight in a particular location. Lets you use resources to go to more difficult places with better loot. Yeah, but okay. So, I know we're going to end up tackling some game design here, even though this probably is not the most important thing. But why is someone choosing to do that? I feel like this is maybe even counter to the game design. So if there were harder fights, why would someone choose them? And it would just be for the optimizers out there to be able to get money faster? Or it would be for the challenge of it, which is that's where boss fights were supposed to come in. I don't think people will do this. This involves an amount of measurement that you just don't have in the game. Money per minute or gold per minute. Because I even kind of had this happen myself when I was playing earlier. Expect them to pay more attention to skills and compositions they're taking there. So that's what I think bosses accomplish, though. I don't know if we need two things in the game to accomplish that. I think if you want to pay attention to fights, then you pay attention to boss fights, and you can always have sort of the challenge of just taking on the highest level boss you can take on. But I think if regular instances started doing that, that it would, I don't think it'd be very fun. Let's load my saved game. And where were we? Yeah, we could try battling in the crypt, for example. And I'll start this battle, and I'm pretty sure we'll horribly lose this fight. Yeah, I'm about to lose one adventurer, and I've only killed 3 enemies. And now I'm going to lose my second one, and now it's a 1 versus 5, which I lost. Anyway, for you to be able to pay attention to this and figure out what's working and what's not working, you'd need to know breakdowns by like, okay, my mage did this much damage with fireball and did this much damage with lightning zaps, and the rogue dodged this much damage by having cloak of shadows, and maybe then you could try to figure out what exactly is needed, and maybe we need to do that for boss fights. But I don't think that would be fun for players. And I think the sort of alternative I'd be leaning toward is like all regular fights are easy. And by that, I mean like a 80 to 100% win ratio. And all boss fights, maybe not all boss fights, but boss fights are where we introduce challenge. And that way, if you're having fun just tooling around in the dungeon for a while, then yeah, by all means, just have fun doing that. But otherwise, I think what's going to happen is you'll see, oh, I lost this. I went 20 seconds without items. Like that's criminal. You can't have your shops not be stocked for 20 seconds. So then you try again and you also don't get items for 20 seconds. You're like, okay, well, I'm just not fighting here. I don't want to spend a minute not even getting items. I think that's what happens. The other way we could sort of accomplish this is by having like partial wins. Maybe every enemy killed is like +1 item or something like that. And that way you lose the fight, but you still beat 2 enemies. But this can kind of be exploited, and I don't know. I'm not as big a fan of that. I think I'm leaning more toward this. Just the fights are easier. I expect you to win them. Maybe not with like the worst builds in the game. Maybe not with no thought put into your party composition. But you put in a basic amount of thought, you're probably going to win. Seems fine to me, given there are enough of these easy steps. Otherwise, the main game is going to be 3 to 4 hours instead of a more desirable 10 to 12 hours. It makes me think of a couple things. For one, I think the game length should always just have been and will be just however long it's fun for. And then take that, tack on an extra 20% and say this is like extra content for people who are still enjoying the game. That's a game length part. The second part, though, is I think there are really 2 major focuses. There's the battle and there's town. And in the beginning of the game, you can't really be focused on both. Well, I shouldn't say can't. You could be, I guess, but I don't think most players will be. From all the user research I've done, they're always paying attention to one thing or the other thing, not both of them. So I think by having easier fights, it would allow you to focus on the town and maybe like which parties do I want? Where do I want them to be? I think that's what I'm leaning toward. I'll need to think about this some more. I'm going to write that down over here. Consider the game design puzzle or problem. around unlocks being linear and eventually not having an obvious way to increase your power. I'm leaning toward having non-boss fights be winnable almost no matter what. Like 80 to 100% win rate, even with sort of mediocre builds, I guess. But the boss fights being where the challenge comes in. Maybe. No, that's about it. I think the main motivator for me is that it feels really bad in this game to go like 20 to 25 seconds without getting any items and then potentially do the same thing and still not get any. It's what forces you back into the low level areas. Other ideas having the instances be some kind of tree. You can unlock paths that lead to different areas and bosses with different kinds of loot. I think this is the other thing that we've kind of talked about in the past here, which is like loot is for enchants and for money. And the enchants right now just haven't been fleshed out. So essentially loot, well, let's say they were totally fleshed out. Still in phase 1 and phase 2 of the game, you don't even have the enchanter. So at that point, loot is just for money. And I think it's the same question of like, why are you going to different places to get different loot? And it's either you have a shop that's better suited for the loot that you have. So for example, your potion shop has a lot of throughput, although that's linear. So you have as much throughput as we tell you to have at that point in the game. Or that, I don't know, there's some other system going on here. Like the desire system is extended so that it tells you how much a customer is willing to pay for a certain item. And maybe they say like, I want a potion you've never seen before, the purple potion. And I'm going to give you 700 gold for it. You've got to go find it or something. You guys have a good day. Have to go head back home, which is an hour and 10-minute drive. Whoa. Yeah, I almost certainly won't be streaming by then. But take care. Who cares? Hope you have a good day. Thank you for the gifted subs. Hope your commute is not horrendous. I guess I want to spend a tiny bit more time trying to think about this. Because an alternative idea is there's a hard mode checkbox for instances. But why would anyone choose that? You may lose and negate your potential winnings you could get. Hey, Becca. I saw you join Discord. I'm trying to think of what is this going to do for fun. And I think we need to play it again to find out. But yeah, even when I was playing earlier, I was mostly going to the dungeon, even when I unlocked the volcano, because there's no guarantee I won that or I would win that. And that's another problem I think there is in the game right now. This is bad. This number right here. Enemies can either attack 1.5 attacks. No, wait, 1.5 seconds per attack. Anywhere up to 3.5 seconds to attack. And that variance is a 230% variance. As in, you might have enemies that are attacking just twice as fast. And you got unlucky and you're probably going to die. So I think what we probably need to do here is just shrink this range. So it already hovers around 2.5 seconds. So what if we made it be like 2.4 to 2.6? That is much more reasonable. And maybe sometimes this pushes you into losing a fight that you wouldn't have lost because the enemies are attacking faster, but it's not like, well, you're going to lose all the time now. Random enemy 230% stronger, just like real life. Yeah, when I'm fighting bats in the forest and there's a bat that looks identical to all the other bats and it's randomly 230% stronger and bites my neck right off, I think that makes for a fun game. Hey, Dota. I'm not making the game solo, just to be clear. There are other people working on this. and balancing that, adding more content. I will say this though, I think regardless of how many people are working on a game, balance is just kind of tough because it's not even just balance in a vacuum. It's balance combined with, okay, how fun is this? How fun is this at the particular time that where you're playing the game? I tried a Diablo 2 mod yesterday called D2R Reimagined. And I got to level 29 as a necromancer. And I got to Diablo and he just wiped out all my summons. And I was just like, I'm not fighting this boss anymore. And I'm probably just never playing the game again. Part of that is because it was a free mod and because I don't know how much to trust that they balance every single build in the game. And part of it is I've just played a ton of Diablo before. But that's another thing to consider when it comes to balance is like what actions does your player have to take in order to compensate for there being bad balance? Might get you for having pet battles. Thankfully, there aren't pets in the game yet, but who knows? Maybe there will be eventually. Also, I read through some of the legal stuff that Nintendo was suing Palworld for, and it did seem like it at least had some footing. It wasn't like, well, you also have catchable creatures. It's like some of the designs are pretty similar. There is apparently a patent in Nintendo filed about catching creatures in a field with a contraption. The patents are really weirdly written, but basically means like a Pokeball kind of thing. Yeah, so I think we need to clamp this down. And then was there anything else to this? I guess the other thing we need to ask is which parts of the game should change as a result of whatever we decide here. E.g., if battles are easier across the board, should we have fewer / more locations? Should we change leveling? Which decisions are you making as you play? If you're just always winning when you're the highest level, we probably wouldn't need many instances in between bosses. But then how are you questing? What are your decisions? Filed after it was released. I didn't take a look. It did seem like it was pretty recent. So I think it was in 2023 or 2024. Patents they're going after aren't even designs of the pets. Yeah, my guess, and I will say this right up front that I am speculating and do not have all of the information. My guess is that if I were a lawyer doing this, I'd want some like surefire legal grounds to say, okay, here's infringement I can point to, and we've won battles like in this in the past. And by the way, that's part of the problem with patent systems is you can independently invent something, but the first person to get the patent is the first person who can start licensing it to other people. And if you infringe on a patent, I think it's pretty cut and dry. But like I said, not an expert, obviously just speculating. One of the patents say I was riding a horse. Sure, it was a horse and not a ponyta. Yeah, I didn't look into that one. Hey, Mystical Sal. Count down the days till December. I can't just start working on this yet. We've got to talk about this a little bit more. All right, so let's just say that we're making battles easier. If you're the recommended level, then you will have an 80 to 100% win rate. What changes as a result of this? Well, you start in the forest, you get to the dungeon, you eventually fight the boss. The progression here was you need to level up to be able to beat the dungeon. You can eventually have 2 instances running at the same time, and you can eventually have 2 of these running at the same time. Then you fight the boss and you beat the boss. You get to the volcano. It's like, what are you choosing to do at this point? You can't have it be that you're just getting I guess you could have it be that you're just fighting with that party, but now sort of grinding there for a bit. I feel like the answer is to make things a little grindier. But then we need to give you something else to manage in town, right? What other choice could we have you make? Pretty much just how many adventurers are you sending somewhere? Building upgrades? Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is, unless the building upgrades are happening frequently enough, then you're probably just sitting around watching the battles for a while. And I think some amount of that is okay, but I think there should be some decisions you're making. And almost every game has some concept of like micro decisions you're making and macro decisions you're making. And even think of an FPS. It might be something like, okay, which path should I take down this hallway? But the macro decision might be something like, how many people should we have in each area? Should we be fighting more defensively or offensively? And with a game like StarCraft, it's like they're pretty obvious micro decisions of like, do I cast this ability or do I spend the time building up my army or something like that? You only have so much focus and so many actions per minute you can perform. And in this game, I don't think it needs to be the same stakes or the same difficulty, but I think your micro decisions are not exactly, they're like skill points in the game. And your macro decisions are more like, what am I going to buy next? And what's the best way to get money? When did I first get into game dev? Pretty much when I first started coding. I've got a command about this. Add fishing. I mean, there might be fishing. Trying to think about this. You have two different locations. Why do you go to one over the other? Yeah, so I guess a question arises. Why are you not just always going to the best location? And like customer desires is part of this. Maybe there's a particular item. Oh, you know what you should be able to do is just drag an item onto a customer. I didn't even think about this. This is a great idea. Holy cow, we need to do this. You should be able to drag a desired item onto a customer and they'll just buy it immediately. This may mean that when dragging a desired item for long enough or near enough to a customer, they slow down so that you can actually target them. Just bought a Moonlander Mark 1. Is there a Mark 2? Also, you got a Tarasco, you've got a period at the end of that. I'll type it. Is that just the full name of the keyboard? I've always called it a Moonlander. Huh. Yeah, I had a Moonlander at one point. I felt like it was a very big keyboard. I didn't really ever get used to it. But it was customizable, and I think that let me get into this keyboard eventually, which I love this keyboard. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, customer desires are kind of the only answer, and maybe like some amount of pipelining or just lack of being at the right level. I just don't feel like I can lose that number row. It is nice to have dedicated numbers, but it's also nice. I kind of showed this the other day. Like let's say we just actually, yeah, random number generator. Okay, so check this out. We're gonna just pick some like, let me fill this in the right way. Okay, so here's a number, right? Just a random number that was generated. How quickly can you type this with a number row versus with a number pad? And this keyboard is essentially a numpad, and you just saw me type this as I was speaking. And it's pretty fast, right? And I'm not saying you can't type this quickly with a number row as well. It's a little bit harder. So the numpad and having it built in exactly where your hand already is pretty nice. I'm faster on the row. Have you tested? Is there any typing test that just has you type numbers? In fact, I wonder if that's possible. Typing test just for numbers. 10 key typing test. All right, 75995. Oh, you have to type spaces? Okay, hold on. Let's try this again. Where is my space on this? Hang on, I gotta find this. Do I even have one? I do have one, but it's kind of in an awkward position. All right, 1000. What am I doing wrong? Am I supposed to press enter? Oh my God. Okay. The text disappears once you've already typed a number. I wasn't reading it anyway. All right, well, my enter key is not in a convenient position because I don't end up typing enter all that frequently. So, all right, this would be a little bit hard to sort of prove, but I suspect you'd be faster on the numpad almost no matter what. Or at least you could. I've been training since birth on the row. But what I mean is if you were to train for, let's say, a week with a numpad, I think you'd be faster. Either way, if you have dedicated number keys, it's not like you can't use non-dedicated number keys. You can just customize your keyboard however you want. All right, yeah, this is a pretty weak reason for this. Maybe we don't need a reason. It's just a level thing. And we find some other way to vary locations, or maybe there are hard locations, locations whose level is higher than your max level at the time, where you're expected to lose more. That may be confusing though. It's more about the symbols for me. Yeah, by the way, I don't think you'll ever need to type so many numbers that like the typing test would really need to come into play there. I do find that it's been pretty smooth and natural to use this as a numpad. Why give them the choice if there's no difference? Seems like there's a complexity cost. They could be tackling a level at two different times. There wouldn't be no difference. When I say best location, each location would have like a max number of party members and then a level of the enemies. So maybe you have a location that is, max of 1 and level of 1. That's going to be different from a max of 2 and a level of 2, or a max of 1 and a level of 2. Because you have multiple party members in the game. So you might say something like, okay, let's send these 2 characters to the jungle, and then let's send these 3 characters to the crypt. And now you're running 2 different battles at once. But maybe you don't have enough party members to have a 3rd battle running. So you actually like down level 2 of the instances or something. Oh, sorry. I didn't even see your message. I got lost. I thought it was a bot command. All right, let me see. I was thinking of a structure like this one. You need to go to all elites to keep progressing, but you have some sense of choosing the path within your power level. Be okay to have instances that are repeated, same enemies are stronger, and even reskinned elites with slightly different abilities. Okay, but like, there are a couple questions I guess I have for this. One would be, is the forest 2 harder than the forest 1? And 2 is, why would we even need a tree? Why couldn't this just be collapsed into a line? I know it can't be collapsed because it's got like multiple dependencies like this one. But could we just collapse it into a line, and what would that accomplish? And what does, I guess that's the final thing is, yeah, what does choosing the path do? So dungeon 1 over river 1, why am I picking one over the other? Can I recommend a course on Godot? I actually made one on Godot a while ago, which I guess I could recommend, but it was for Godot 3. Adam learns Godot. And I was wearing this shirt. I know this because of the thumbnail that I spent a long time making. You could check that out. Maybe you'll like that, maybe not. Beyond that, I haven't personally done one, so it'd be hard for me to recommend one. Okay, well, let me think about this. The beginning of the game where I do the forest and then the dungeon and then fight the boss, I feel like that's fun. I wonder if all the instances felt like they were extensions of that, if it would work out pretty well. I like the concept of improving the difficulty a little bit. And you are guaranteed to be able to level up at least once each time in between the bosses. And then eventually you'll have a chance. I like the idea that you increase the difficulty by unlocking a new location. You'll always have at least one more level you can gain before fighting the next boss. I just still don't have a reason why you'd pick different locations. Yeah. All I have is customer desires. And that actually is a reason, and that does happen, and I thought that was fun. Yeah, I thought it was a cool system. But I guess yeah, I guess it's not that hard to think about. There is no other reason to battle than to get items. So you would only want a specific location because of the specific items that drop. And the reason why you want the best one generically is because it gives the most money. The only thing that might change that location or change that equation, excuse me, is time, like battle duration and win rate. And technically life remaining, that's minor. Thought you were worried about the linearity. In general, intermediate instances are somewhat similar or just slightly harder. Passing on different theming. Mage is more effective when you go in the jungle, but not so effective in the volcano. You get more weapons in the volcano, more armor in the desert. Also gives a bit of flavor to the world. Yeah, yeah. I think the thing about different characters being effective isn't going to be clear. And that's where I wanted it to be clearer in boss battles, at least. Which, by the way, an idea I've got a file for later is maybe ignore players' choice for options for showing battle stats when fighting a boss and just always show it. I'll say it this way. Consider always showing battle stats after fighting a boss, even if the player has them disabled. Yeah. So I think what we need to do if we want to change locations up is either for someone to have a real decision in choosing the location, there would need to be different chances of winning, different battle durations, different loot, or different uses for loot. No, just different uses for loot. And maybe we theme this as a, what are other uses for loot that we can come up with? To be some transparency on the differences too, otherwise kind of a blind choice. Yeah, I agree. And this is what I was concerned with about like sort of random battles being tough. Like if I go into this, let's say, the Inferno place, and I send 3 adventurers. So you're about to watch them do a battle. I should lose this. Yeah. Like you can see I'm definitely losing and the enemies are not really dying all that quickly. So I'm going to lose this, but that's it. That's all I really see, right? Oh, my adventurers are all at 0 health, and I see that there's some enemies in the background, but like, why did I lose? And in this case, it's because I didn't actually put any skill points in. So there's a really obvious reason why I lost, is that they're all 0 skills out of everything. Actually, not all of them, I guess. But in the future, let's say you assigned all the skill points, it's still not going to be obvious to you. You need a lot of stats to be able to tell. Oh, Syraphoria, thanks for the raid. Welcome, everybody. How you doing? We have been working on Skeleseller, and I've been talking about a particular problem here, which is there are all these different locations you can go to in the game, forest, dungeon, volcano, whatever. But some of them are really hard, and there's not really anything you can do in the game to make them any easier. And I don't like the idea of players losing all the time when they're fighting in battles here. Did I hop off and back on? Yeah, I tend to do a morning stream for usually about, I don't know, like 3 to 3.5 hours. And then an afternoon stream to cover the remaining bit of whatever 6 hours there is. But actually today was just longer in sort of both of these. Yeah, it's like 4 hours in the morning and 3 hours now. So I tend to do that. What I want to do is I made a game a while ago called Animal Royale, and I've shown this before. Let me pull this up really fast. Yeah, this game. So let me go to this thing. You connect via Twitch chat, and you're loaded in Minecraft as a sheep, and then you can choose an angle to shoot TNT at each other, and the last sheep standing wins. I think it's going to show this here. Yeah, I think it's going to launch a TNT out of it now. I think there should be some indication that the match is starting. Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is on my lunch breaks, I'm thinking I'll have this game just automatically running, and then I will just let people play this. And that way it's just one stream. But then I got to have my lunch breaks be pretty short. I love this game. I made this back in like 2020. I got to figure out where the code is and figure out how I'm going to change it and spend some time actually changing it. But it was really cool. And I had a raid at one point, so a whole bunch of people could spawn in. These were actual human players, even though it looks like they're botters, but they're not. So we had 220 people join the game and shoot TNT at each other, and it was a lot of fun. And toward the end of this, it gets to sudden death, and then lava starts falling from the sky. Where is that? Yeah. And that way, eventually, the sheep should just die, even if they're not hitting each other. Anyway, we'll probably do that at some point. But until then, we're working on Skeleseller. This Friday, we have the launch of v0.4. So it'll be free for people to play. If you want to give feedback on the game on Friday or after Friday, that'd be great. I need more feedback on the state of the game then. Current damage done, healed, prevented, stuff like that. Yeah, I think some of that would help. But that's only really going to matter for boss fights. The thing that I was talking about here is, like, why are you picking one location over another? And there are a couple of systems in the game, like this right here. This customer wants a yellow potion. Yellow potions only drop from a couple of different locations. In fact, they didn't get their yellow potion, so they're just leaving town now. But okay, this customer wants 1 boot. Oh no, they're not also leaving town. So if I were to go get a boot for them and put this in the shop, they'll walk over there eventually and go buy it. And they'll tip when they do. Oh, that character might make it there first. All right, there we go. So yeah, they gave a 17 gold tip. And that's one reason to go get specific items. But other than that, there's really not a lot of reasons. There are quest items as well. So you might click this and now it says I need 4 of these red helmets. And yeah, if I were to grant them, you can see I can drag these over to here. And then let's wait for another customer or a worker to come over here. Come on. Someone's got to have one. Whatever, I'll just drag this over here. Yeah, so now I completed a quest. I got a skill point. I can spend it in my skill tree. Should tip be more than what they pay? it's a little weird to be framed as the tip, but like the system is working well. I just probably shouldn't call it a tip. Because yeah, it is weird when something costs 5 gold and they tip like 40. That's the kind of thing only high rollers do. Big spenders. So what are other uses for loot that we can come up with? I think that's one way of doing this. Another way of doing it is like, how do we, maybe we do have long battles versus short battles. That could be it too. Yeah. We could just vary any of these things. There could be really long battles that are just DPS games, basically. Like how much damage can you call it, or how much damage can you pump into this battle? And maybe for that you don't get a healer and you don't get a tank. And then maybe there are other battles where it is more about survivability. And we can probably play with this a little bit more toward the end of the game. Although maybe that is still boss battles. I don't know. I feel like regeneration has to matter more if I do that. I like calling it a skill tree. The thing is, we have a skill tree, and then we have a skill tree, and then we have the town perks tree. You can make customers really fussy about what they buy, make it more of a grind. Yeah, although that would play less into the repeat battle thing. So one of the skills you can get is auto battling. And when you enable this, it'll just keep sending that character back into the fight over and over. So I check auto battle, the character will just walk back to the portal. When I click win over here, there's just going to be a timer, countdown, goes right back into battle. Maybe we make it so, well, I was going to say maybe it's only customer desires. Because even that thing I was saying about what if there's a really long battle and you just need a lot of DPS for it? Like, what if that's all you're doing and you don't have a reason to use your tank or your healer or anything? I don't know. I think I need to put some actual thought into this and not just sort of, oh, hey, it's the end of the day. Man. I'll write down these ideas, though, because I think they were decent. I need more instances. Yeah, so big question is why not always pick the best instance? And we'd have to make it less obvious which is best. Maybe you're pretty much guaranteed to win, but some enemies do more damage or are really tanky. So you need more DPS in those fights. Maybe there's another reason to get specific items. Oh, by the way, it'd be kind of cool. Maybe the garbage slime can have a quest for you. Or it can have desired items. That would be kind of cool. Huh. That's just a random separate idea, by the way. I should write that down. Idea, the garbage slime can have desired items and would pay what a customer might pay. Another reason to get specific items, and yeah, maybe some of the fights are just harder. I don't think we should change this. Yeah, I don't think we should change this. I think it should just be battle duration, the loot that you get, and the quantity of loot or something. We do need different locations if loot is going to matter. If there is a specific reason to get different items, then we need enough different locations so that your choice is so that the impact of your choice is apparent. Yeah, I don't know. I got to put some more thought into it for sure. Okay, well, what time is it? It's 4:10. I'll do a little bit more and we just won't tackle that just yet. I'll hold off on this. Repetition and selection of limited dungeons feeds into progression and the game loop satisfaction. I haven't played Darkest Dungeon, so I'm not aware off the top of my head what they do. Could you sum it up, Frankie? Purposely makes the characters kind of bad. I'm aware that the game is supposed to be really difficult and it's supposed to be very strategic. At least that's what I think. The thing is, this game, Skeleton is supposed to be more like laid back, more casual. And for that reason, that's why I want to improve the win rate. I think it feels bad to lose. Yeah. And I also don't want there to be such deep strategic decision making because that means that you could lose more. That's where the bosses will come in. That's where the only real decision making, and it's going to be just which skills are the best build to get for that boss. High reward aspect that they have to leave the battle on for a day or two. Oh, I don't want people to have to like leave the game on for hours. I think there's a lot of game design philosophy that I haven't shared in this conversation that is important to understand for this. So I want the game to last maybe like, 5 to 15 hours in that range. I want it to be fun for people who are what I would call like semi-active. So I'm not trying to optimize for idle players. Hey, Evo. What's strange is it says first time chat from Raider, but it doesn't say. Oh, it said that here too. Because it should say who raided. I'm pretty sure it's Spherophoria that you came from, but still, I didn't notice that message. I see they're casuals like me. Yeah, and I know there are idle games that really lean into that, where idle means like don't play for 5 days and then play for 5 minutes to spend your currency or whatever, and then again, don't play for 5 days. I say don't play because the game is playing itself. I don't like this concept, and I also don't think it'd be very fun for a game you bought once and have no way of really speeding up. All right, let's see. Warehouse star with many item displays. Second customer upgrade. Only got one new customer. Should got one skill point. Want to swap items. Clear and find particular loot. We're not gonna be able to do all this stuff. Wait days for a building. Love those. I think they can work for sure. And I think especially for a game like a Facebook game, I think those were games where you'd tune in, for 5 minutes here and there. And that's how a lot of idle games are. It's tune in for a little bit of time here and there, and you get some progress in the meantime. I just didn't want that to be this game exactly. I wanted this to be kind of a background game, but not like a deep background game. More like you're looking at it while you're watching your YouTube video or something. Or maybe you're even playing another game and there's matchmaking time and you're like, cool, I'll pay attention to what's going on in Skeleton. I like those ideas. And as I mentioned earlier, I played the game for 40 minutes myself today, came up with all this feedback. I generally had fun while I was playing. But then I hit a difficulty wall and then the fun went down a little bit. Yeah. All right. I don't know. I'll put some thought in that tomorrow. There are a lot of things that need to happen between now and Friday. And even little things that I've sort of just ignored, like this. Labels are showing up underneath the items. That's not good. We got to fix this. Stop having item labels in the warehouse show beneath item displays. Yeah, I think Wednesday, though, we're going to focus almost entirely on this. Because a lot of this you see me doing, I know the reasons behind everything that's happening here. I know what the cost of things are. I generally know how the game is played, etc. So it's like when you can build the Enchanter's Den, I know what this does, how much like value it has in the game. But a player might not even see this sign here. So they might be looking over here, never see it, and not realize, oh, wow, look at that. There's something over there. Or there's something down here that I could get. And that would be a problem. So I think that's why on Wednesday we got to focus on that stuff. But yeah, I am excited for Friday. I think even in the current state, I think people will probably have fun. But I still feel like it's too much of a blank canvas where I'm like, well, we have a lot of systems in, but they're not fleshed out to the point where you can understand, is it going to be fun at hour number 5? But yeah, I should get going. I have streamed for quite a long time today. I feel bad for Spherophoria, who raided and I'm leaving. I feel like this is how we always raid each other. All right, who's online? Oh, you know who just started streaming for today? Failed to survive. Let's go raid them. They've been a long time viewer slash helper of the stream. Wait, why is their stream not loading? Oh, I think they're having some connection problems. Yeah. Okay, I don't think I can raid him. Drat. Well, I'll have to tell him at some point that I was going to raid him. All right, let's go find somebody else. I do not like this process. Yeah, I. All right, I'm just gonna sign off. I'm not opposed to rating people. I don't like putting in the time trying to find someone new. And yeah, that's it. So I'll be back online on Wednesday. And then remember, the game launches on Friday. So we're going to have to put in a lot of time in the sort of off days. And yeah, that's it. I hope you all had a good day today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. See ya.